Good morning, everybody. It's Bernard and Emily, and we have Amy Charney she's the development specialist at Komen. I want to welcome you both to Emily's check presentation to Komen this morning. I hope you two are both doing well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today for this exciting check presentation for Komen. We at Komen have been very impressed with all that Emily's taken on to do fundraising. I know it's really important to her and very meaningful. And so we're very grateful to have you. Go ahead.
Thank you. And Emily, how are you doing? You've got one more final to turn in as an undergraduate and you graduate next week. How are you surviving this week?
Lots of coffee.
I'm sure. Well, proudly, we were here a year ago next week with Emily's first check presentation to Komen. And Em, I want you to share just a little bit about the fundraiser that you created a year and a half ago. And how did that go last year? And then let's talk just for a minute or so about how it went this year, because we've got some more exciting news to share.
So it actually started with me wanting to train for a half marathon in quarantine, and I needed a quarantine project, a safe way to get outside. And so I started running. And then when we found out that the Race for the Cure was going to be canceled in the fall of 2020, you and I, Dad, decided that this would be a cool way to incorporate running and fundraising. So last September, I did my first 24 miles in 24 hours and raised $13,100. Had all my friends run with me, had people from all parts of my life donating. And so then this year, about a month ago, I did my second 24 miles in 24 hours and had less people in Athens to run with me, but had Dad and my sister come up, and still a great event, a little bit different this year, a lot colder this year, but got it done again and raised a lot of money again.
You sure did. And Amy, I know Emily's been working with you and with Kate Watt over this past year for this DIY fundraising. If you would just share a little bit about how Komen is able to support people like Emily and whether they're students or just any individuals who want to fundraise in support of Komen's efforts.
Well, we at Komen really feel that there are so many people in the community that have a connection to breast cancer, whether they're living with breast cancer themselves, whether they're a survivor, whether they've lost a loved one. And so our DIY platform is able to give people the opportunity to take their meaningful mission into their own hands and decide what they want to do, how they want to do it, and even sometimes how they want to use the money that they raise. So it's people like Emily that are sort of boots on the ground, really helping us to kind of move our mission forward and being able to get closer to our vision of a world without breast cancer. I myself am a breast cancer survivor, so and a runner. So I have used running myself as a way to raise money. I think running can be really spiritual and emotional and a great way to sort of get out there. And so for me personally, all that Emily's done is just phenomenal. And I love the unique way that you've taken this sort of 24 miles in 24 hours. It's different than a half marathon. It's different than a marathon. And it really, captures the attention of people. So I think, I hope you keep doing it. I hope you get more people to do it with you, unless you prefer to do it alone. But I think it's really, it's unique. And I think it's really special and, honors your loss that you've had.
Thank you, Amy, for those kind words. Emily, I meant to ask you, over the 24 hours, explain just briefly, what does that mean? Because it's kind of an endurance for you and you're the only one who did all of it, but you certainly had others along the way. So what was it like running at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning for you to put in that time?
Well, honestly, at that point, you kind of start to lose a little bit of steam. Was definitely feeling the lack of sleep and it's hard to get proper nutrition during that because you don't want to eat too much between miles, but you need to eat enough. And it's a lot about figuring out how to balance getting rest, but also nourishing yourself, but also making sure you're up and you're running. And so it's as mentally taxing as it is physically. But I had friends with me through all of those 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. miles and really helped pull me through. And I'm very grateful to them for being there for me and showing up and making sure that I got up and did it.
I was going to say, I know throughout the day or the 24 hours, you had people, a few less this year than last year, but you had some folks running virtually. You had FaceTime calls while you were running. And typically, I think all but maybe one of the miles, you actually had someone or multiple people with you, but at least one of those miles I know you did on your own, and that was by choice. And I know that was a meaningful mile for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've come to the time. Oh, before we do that, before we have the actual check presentation, Em, let's talk about where last year you had a specific designation for the money to go, and it's certainly your hope again this year. But share just briefly, what is it your intent for the donations that you've raised, where they should go?
The Treatment Assistance Program, TAPS, specifically in Alabama, its goal is to essentially help people who live in rural communities who either need breast cancer screening, help getting to appointments, help paying for their medication, people who don't live near those big hospitals that are at the forefront of cancer research, people in the smaller communities that really need it as much care as, people that live in Birmingham or Huntsville, the bigger cities. So I'm hoping this money will go to helping those in Alabama that don't have as much access to breast cancer healthcare as they need.
Yeah, and also they can use those funds for childcare. So a lot of people who will forego going to their treatment because they don't have childcare, or for like taxi or transportation. If they can't get to their appointments, they won't go. So the treatment assistance program will allow people that extra funding so they can get to their visits. So
very good. Well, one thing I did want to add, for those of you who are watching this either live or on the replay later on, if you don't know our family's story, if you're not familiar with the genesis of where Emily got to where we are now, I'll put links in the comments section so you can read about Karen and the legacy that she created and that we live and attempt to honor every year, really every day, but every year. Additionally, I'll put a link, an active link, that should you be moved to donate, there'll be that way you can do so online directly. That'll benefit Emily's efforts and will go to Komen. So again, Amy, thank you. Emily, of course, thank you. And what we have, I couldn't get this to Emily because she's in Athens and I'm in Birmingham, but it's it's the check.
Wait, can I know it's recorded, but can you just hold it up for 1 second so I can just take a picture with my phone? I know we're recording, but that's fantastic, Emily. You should, be really proud of what you've done. And, I know the program here at Komen is called DIY, which is, do it yourself. You've clearly done it yourself. We really do want to be here to support you in your efforts going forward as much as we can. And so, whatever we can do again for next year, we want to be here for you. So we really appreciate your efforts. And I know your mom is watching and really proud of you.
Thank you.
Emily, any closing words, anything of wisdom you wanted to share today?
just be on the lookout for next year, everybody.
Very good.
Woo!
Well, Amy, thank you. Emily, thank you. And
Thank you so much.
This will do it for now. Signing off. You guys have a good holiday season. Be well.